When the Attorney General replaced Mr. Graves with Bradley Schlozman, the person pushing the lawsuit, that case was filed, but ultimately, of course, was thrown out of court. Once in place in Missouri, though, Mr. Schlozman also brought indictments on the eve of a closely contested election, despite a Justice Department policy, longstanding policy, not to do so. This is what happens when a responsible prosecutor is replaced by one considered a, quote, loyal Bushie for partisan political purposes. Mr. Schlozman also bragged about hiring ideological soulmates. Monica Goodling likewise admitted crossing the line when she used a political litmus test for career prosecutors and immigration judges. And rather than keep federal law enforcement above politics, this administration is more intent on placing its actions above the law. The Attorney General admitted recently in a video for justice employees that injecting politics into the department's hiring is unacceptable. But is he committed to corrective action and routing out the partisanship in federal law enforcement? His lack of independence and tendency to act as if he were the president's lawyer rather than the Attorney General of the United States makes that doubtful. From the infamous torture memo to Mr. Gonzales' attempt to prevail on a hospitalized Attorney General Ashcroft to certify an illegal eavesdropping program, to the recent opinion seeking to justify Harriet Meyer's contemptuous refusal to appear before the House Judiciary Committee, the Justice Department has been reduced to the role of enabler for this administration. What we need instead is genuine accountability and real independence. We learned earlier this year systematic misuse and abuse of national security letters, a powerful tool for the government to obtain personal information without the approval of a court or prosecutor. The Attorney General said he had no inkling of these or other problems with vastly expanded investigative powers. But now we know otherwise. Recent documents obtained through Freedom of Information Act lawsuits and reported in the Washington Post indicate that the Attorney General was receiving reports in 2005 and 2006 of violations in connection with the Patriot Act and abuses of national security letters. Yet when the Attorney General testified under oath before the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence in April 2005, he said that the track record established over the past 3 years has demonstrated the effectiveness of the safeguards of civil liberties put in place when the act was passed. Earlier this month, in response to written questions I sent to the Attorney General about when he first learned of problems with national security letters, he once again failed to mention these reports of problems. Only with the openness and honesty that brings true accountability will the department begin to move forward and correct the problems of the last few years. Instead, we have leadership of the Department of Justice whose expressions of concern and admissions of mistakes were made only follow public revelations and mount to regrets, really not that the mistakes and excesses were made, but apparently regrets that somebody found out about those excesses. In the wake of growing reports of abuses of national security letters, the Attorney General announced a new internal program. This supposed self-examination, with no involvement by the courts, no reports to Congress, no other outside check, essentially translates to trust us. But with a history of civil liberty abuses and cover-ups, this administration has squandered our trust. I am not willing to accept a simple statement of trust us. I don't trust you. Early internal revenue reviews like the Intelligence Oversight Board and the Privacy and Civil Liberties Oversight Board have been ineffective and inactive, failing to take action on the violations reported to them. Only with a real check from outside of the executive branch can we have any confidence that abuses will be curbed and balance restored. And a tragic dimension of the ongoing crisis of leadership of the Justice Department is the undermining of good people and the crucial work that the department does. Thousands of honest, hard-working prosecutors and agents and other civil servants labor every day to detect and prevent crime, uncover corruption, promote equality and justice, and keep all Americans safe from terrorism. But sadly, prosecutions will now be questioned as politically motivated. Evidence will be suspected of having been obtained in violation of laws and civil liberties. Once the government shows a disregard for the independence of the justice system and the rule of law, it's very hard to restore the people's faith. And it's going to be very hard to restore my trust in what is going on. This committee will do its best to try to restore independence, accountability, and commitment to the rule of law to the operations of the Justice Department. That is something that both Republicans and Democrats could agree on. Senator Specter.